Good evening, folks. I'm Ron Shaw, and I was very flattered to be asked to be the Master of Ceremonies for tonight. And you can tell from the fact that there's no name part up here for me that I am not a candidate. So I just wanted to make that clear. We're not showing any favoritism to anybody for any reasons. Tonight we have, as you probably know, there are 3 openings on the board. We have 6 candidates vying for one of those spots. And that will be a 3-year term, no different than it has been in the past. Election day is March the 17th. Ballots need to be in by March the 16th. You can come to the meeting on the 17th and vote there, or you can mail it in. All of us have received a big envelope this week, and there's a self-addressed envelope there to the, I think they pronounce it Heifer, the Heifer Company, and they will be tabulating all of your votes. Tonight, each of the speakers will be called upon in alphabetical order. They each have 7 minutes to talk, and gentlemen, at the end of 6 minutes, somebody's going to ring the bell and warn you that you have 1 minute left. And then we will have question and answer. Any questions that any of you have, any comments that any of you have, we'll do that for a maximum of 1 hour. I did want to mention before we start, because there's one gentleman here tonight who is also not running for office, but we don't see him a lot. He's in his office, he's keeping everything going. He's the general manager of BICA, and I just want everybody to say hello to Bob Davis. Bob, please stand. There you go. Way in the back. No executive could get along well without a great administrative assistant. June Petriello works for Bob and does a bang-up job. Thank you both. Thank you for all that you do. So let's get things underway. There will be no slide comments by me, nothing that will show favoritism to anybody, and we're going to do it all in alphabetical order. So our first speaker is Bill Champlin, and Bill, you've got 7 minutes.
First of all, I'd like to thank Ron. He's a neighbor, and he always does a great job when he manages an event like this because he shows no favoritism to anybody, and he usually has some funny things to say along the way. I'd like to welcome everybody here. We were commenting a moment ago that this is a very good turnout for a BICA candidates night, and we appreciate all of you attending. I'd also like to take note of the fact that we have a number of current board members from BICA and a number of current board members from the country club here, as well as candidates for BICA and candidates for the country club. So as you mingle at the end of the event, you'll have plenty of opportunity to talk to people who are running for various offices here in the club. I'd like to start by telling you that a little sort of story. 50 years ago, I stood in front of a group like this. I was a freshman in college, and I was a candidate for president of my class. And at that time, you were allowed a single handmade sign that could be displayed in the campus. And a good friend of mine who was managing my campaign at the time said he had a young woman student in the Foreign Service School at Georgetown who would volunteer to do this, make up this sign for me. And I thought that was really great. And I saw her on the evening of that first candidates night discussion. And lo and behold, 50 years later, she's still sitting out here as my wife, Marianne. So we didn't get to make a sign for tonight. That's the only thing missing. But I still appreciate the fact that she stuck with me all these many years after making that sign. We won that election, by the way. That's an Obama-ism, but it's okay. So 15 years ago, Marianne and I bought our home here in BallenIsles. We selected BallenIsles because it was the most beautiful and the most elegant community in South Florida. And we looked everywhere in South Florida. We've enjoyed every moment we've lived here. Our 3 children come here regularly. It's sort of a joke in our family that the first year we were here and they all came for Christmas, we rented 2 cars, so they'd be able to go around, do whatever they wanted. They never left the house. The only place they ever went was the main swimming pool. Those cars came and went back without being driven. And that has continued for 15 years. My kids consider this a place to come and vegetate. And they take advantage of everything that's here, and so do we. It's a great, great community. I think we have a mutual responsibility as residents and as people who get the advantage of living here to maintain and enhance the beauty of this community. That's our responsibility when we vote for board members. I think that's our responsibility when we consider proposals that come before the community. That's our responsibility. I'm a candidate for the BICA board because I think, based on my background and experience in practicing law for 40 years or more, in handling a wide variety of commercial litigation, and as a facilitator, a mediator, an arbitrator, I've got a lot of experience in business issues and in the types of problems that this community faces and that will come before the board. I understand the responsibility of board membership, and I would not run unless I was committed to being the hardest working, most prepared board member if I'm elected. That's a commitment I will make to all of you. I bring a willingness to work with others. That's part of the pattern I've had in my life when I've worked as a facilitator, bringing 50, 60, 70 lawyers and parties together to work together in a piece of litigation. And if you think that working with a 7-member board is complicated, you should try working with 80 lawyers who represent different clients. It's a lot of work, but it requires a listening skill. That old joke about you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason that that's the way they should be used is absolutely true. I want to give you 4 commitments that I would offer to you as a candidate and will maintain if I'm elected. There's lots of issues we could talk about, but I think it's important to know where I would focus my attention. First, I think we need the board to give maximum direct attention to long-range strategic planning. Years ago, we had a strategic planning long-range committee. It met. It had some great people on it. Its recommendations never really were adopted. We've had a committee in the past year, but its functionality has not been as great as we would have liked. I think that function is a board function. I think we need 2 or 3 board members to lead it, along with residents and members of the community. And I will commit to that because that is crucial to knowing where we're going in the next 3 to 5 years. We could talk about every single issue in this community, and they all tie back to long-range planning. Whether you're talking about the roads, the irrigation pumps, the gates, the issues that we're going to have with our lakes, whatever issue you want to focus on, it entails long-range planning. So that's a commitment that I think is the most important. If we don't get it right for the future, we will get it wrong for the future. So second, I think that we need to increase our communications as a board to the residents. We have a community that is large and sophisticated, and we need a more sophisticated communication system. I think we need to focus, and I will focus, on our budget and our financial matters on a regular basis throughout the year. Budgeting is not a single event. It carries throughout the year. And fourth, I think it's important, and I appreciate the members of the Country Club Board that are here, that we cooperate clearly and consistently with the Country Club Board. We're in this together, and we better work together so that the whole community benefits. So finally, I'll tell you, I think board members have duties, key duties. One is to preserve and enhance this community. The values that we have in our homes here are related almost directly to the quality of our community, its landscaping and its maintenance. That's crucial. And second, we have a duty to protect our residents. That's security, number one, but it's also making sure that we are attentive to developments around the community. So I thank you for listening to me. I hope that ringing of the bell will encourage you to vote for me, and I thank you for your attention.
Next speaker has been on the board, running for the board again, Norm Greenberg. Norm?
Good evening. I asked my wife to make a poster for me. She didn't do it. My name is Norman Greenberg. I'm running for the BICA board, and I'm asking for your vote. I have served on the board for the last 5 years, 3 of those years as president. And that service has provided me with a perspective and continuity that is a benefit to the community. Phyllis and I have lived here for 15 years, 10 of those years on a full-time basis. There is no place we would rather be. Looking back on my years on the board, many events stand out. I participated with the club board in the strategizing and satisfactory conclusion of 2 significant legal actions. The settlement of the mandatory membership lawsuit that ensured the long-term financial viability of the entire community. The settlement of a lawsuit brought by the developer with a cost of settlement absorbed by our insurance company. These are demonstrations of cooperation between the boards when we have mutual concerns. We are one community, and generally speaking, what is good for one of us is good for both. I am also proud to have participated in the budgeting process each year, which determines one of our costs to live at BallenIsles, ensuring that there is sufficient funding to maintain the safety and beauty we expect, while at the same time assuring that every dollar is spent wisely. BICA fees have increased at less than the cost of living over the last 5 years. While I look back at the boards that I have been proud to have been a part of, it is the future we are really here to discuss tonight. And I would like to share my thoughts on some current issues. Plans for a 70,000 square foot office building on the east out parcel, which is the land to the right of the PGA gate as you exit, have been submitted to the city. The land is properly zoned for this type of development. It is the impact of increased traffic that causes concern and must be closely monitored with our thoughts related to the city in an effective way. BICA and the club are jointly participating in the effort to reduce the adverse effects of additional traffic on BallenIsles Drive. Commercial development on the west out parcel, the land to the left of the PGA gate as we exit, would require a zoning change. And that is not in the best interest of our community. While we have been successful in the past in defeating a zoning change, the battle must continue to be waged. Eelgrass, the unwanted vegetation in our lakes on the southern half of the property, will more than likely spread to all of the lakes in the future. It is unsightly, does little to improve our property values, and reduces the enjoyment of a significant amenity. While there is no known solution to this problem, we cannot turn our backs on this situation, nor do I intend to. With guidance from professionals, including the University of Florida, we will continue to try to reduce or eliminate this undesirable plant from our lakes. The fitness park, located on the east side of BallenIsles Drive, close to the North Lake Gate, that includes the dog recreation areas, are an underutilized jewel for this community. I am in favor of moving the dog play areas closer to BallenIsles Drive and closer to the existing parking lot in order to improve the comfort of dog owners and the safety of all users of that facility. The entire 17 acres can be better utilized than it is now. I am in favor of forming a working group of residents to determine how best to increase the enjoyment of this valuable piece of land. And finally, as the City Council becomes more fluid with newly enacted term limits, our old established relationships with long-serving council members will require new strategies to benefit our interests. I am proposing that BallenIsles take the lead in establishing a coordinated effort that would allow us to multiply our voices along with Mirasol, PGA, and Old Palm in order to express our concerns to the city staff and elected officials on issues that have an impact on all of us. I have in the past, and hopefully will in the future, based all of my BICA decisions on maintaining and improving the value of our homes, while prudently spending to accomplish this goal. I am asking you to re-elect Norman Greenberg, and I thank you in advance.
Next speaker is Jeff Rosenthal.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jeff Rosenthal, and my wife Barbara and I have lived here. I'm Jeff Rosenthal, and my wife Barbara and I have lived here full-time for 10 years on BallenIsles Drive. You may not recognize me, but I've been in some recent magazine articles or newspaper articles from the Palm Beach Post where I extolled the virtues of living at BallenIsles quite accurately and enjoy living here very much. I've also had a running program of stamp collecting and its effect on politics for 2 years. And by the way, while we're here, I'm still waiting for my residuals. First off, I would like to thank all of you for attending tonight for the BICA candidate review night. And I would like to thank all of our current board members, okay, for the sacrifices in their own time and the dedication and hard work they have put in for the benefit of all of us. It is no secret that BICA has an $11 million operating budget and a capital reserve account on hand of $5.4 million, and the land mass of 1,300 acres, making BallenIsles larger than the Vatican City and Monaco. It puts it in perspective what we have going on here. With these impressive numbers, the responsibilities of the BICA board requires serious and continued contemplation to meet and resolve correctly both the current and future issues, whatever they may be. The pace of change seems to be increasing, and creative thinking, along with a vision of the future, broad business experience, competent due diligence, and effective, timely, two-way communication between BICA and the members will all be necessary to succeed and build and maintain a high confidence level and trust between all the parties. In addition to the important current issues in front of us, which you have already heard, there is nothing insurmountable about them. Research, negotiation, open-mindedness, and community input will lead to their proper resolution. I am a believer in there are no problems, just solutions. Now, I would like to speak about some topics that have not appeared on our short list here. The first being, we have a perimeter around our 1,300 acres that is only protected approximately about 20%, which means an organized breach could go undetected and reach the heart of our club in no time flat. With the probability of a new office building and the thousands of people coming and going over a year's time, and new housing in the military trail entrance, and the state of affairs concerning extremism, we need to rethink this area sooner than later. 2, improve the feedback from BICA and its related committees and management to members. Good communication and feedback are the nutrients of trust and credibility. 3, I believe that we should consider putting some guest cottages on the property for family, friends, business associates, and even use them for promoting the club in these packages where you can invite prospective members to come down and stay for the weekend and so on and so forth. I think that's something that we need to think about. We have a lot of changes coming up, and I don't think that would be too big of an imposition to really consider. 4, to ensure that important enough member issues are brought to the attention of the board and not self-adjudicated by our paid employees or managers. This, I think, is critical. 5, closer scrutinization of the execution of board policy by our managers and employees. Don't expect, but inspect. President Reagan said it better: trust, but verify. 6, to ensure that purchases of goods and services are competitively priced, necessary and delivered, and used as ordered. 7, to be vigilant of our budget, and especially the $5.4 million in cash so many people have so many ideas of how to use. I believe some of the most critical ingredients needed on any board today to meet the challenges of the future I possess to effect the changes that I believe we need going forward. I have real-life business experience both in the trenches as hands-on management and policymaking. I have broad-based business experience, increases one's ability to look at issues from fresh and different vantage points. Being a spark plug with a can-do attitude, a creative talent, and a proven record of success both within and outside conventional corporate structure, good head for numbers, a good frontline negotiator, makes me very well-rounded and a perfect complement to a board which traditionally concentrates on governance as compared to proactive initiatives. Remember, these issues of governance, as important as they are usually kick-started by the creation of a new situation, idea, or business. Then the mediation, the facilitation, the legalese, the finance, the consensus building, and all these disciplines can step in and do their due diligence and protect those business concepts that have been established. A mix of aptitudes, experience, and vision will affect these changes and make up a balanced and representative board of directors. I leave you with this quote: "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success." Henry Ford. Thank you.
We're going to deviate just for a moment in the normal method of introducing each of the candidates. Paul Sisson, who has been on the board, is also up for re-election. He is one of the candidates. He required some medical attention, needed some major surgery, which was done over the last couple of days out of town, and yet he still wanted to be here tonight, and so we allowed him to record his message, thus the big screen. And we had, just before we started, we had a possible minor problem with the volume and hearing him. If that doesn't come through, Larry Levy has offered, he has a transcript of what Hall had said, and he'll read it to us. So let's see if we can get it the right way first, if we can. Can we roll that?
I don't think the audio is working.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just read it straight. My name is Hall Sisson, and I am running for re-election to the BICA board. My BICA history is simple. My wife, Wendy Levine, and I bought our home in Coral Cay in 2006 and became Florida residents in 2007. Shortly thereafter, I was asked to become the chair of the Community and Government Relations Committee, primarily because of my 35 years of experience doing legislative and political work on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. 3 years ago, I ran unopposed for the BICA board. I think of BallenIsles as a small town within the borders of Palm Beach Gardens, and the BICA board as the city council. We have over 1,500 residents with conceivably 3,000 residents. We have an annual budget of over $11 million. The BICA board is responsible for the security of the residents, the landscaping of the property, the trimming of the trees, the cable service, the alarm service, the pump and irrigation system, roads and the lighting of the roads, the overall look of the property, the children's park, the exercise trail, the eelgrass in the lakes, and yes, even the dog park, to name a few. I have played an active role in all of the decisions made on any of these issues during my 3 years serving on the board. As an example of my work, I was against spending $1 million on a new security system. I voted to add additional security personnel and provide them with thermal imaging, night scopes, to detect intruders. When the BICA Energy Conservation Committee came up with a plan to install energy-saving lights in all of the exterior lighting at a savings of $50,000 to the residents, I was an enthusiastic supporter. Everyone in BallenIsles knows from my experience on Capitol Hall that I am a political junkie. Remember, this all sits on, not Larry Levy. This is why it made me sound proud of you, the residents of BallenIsles, when over 71% of you turned out to vote in the 2014 election, a record for Palm Beach Gardens, and probably a record for the Palm Beach County as well. I served on the first grants committee of the BallenIsles Charitable Trust. I voted in support of the BallenIsles Wildlife Foundation. I am a vice president, co-founder of the North County Neighborhood Coalition, a group of 17 gated communities who meet once a month to hear from officials of Palm Beach County so that they may inform their individual communities of what is happening in the county that could affect their lives. I have voted many times over the past 3 years, and in my heart, I have sincerely felt that they were all for the betterment of BallenIsles. I hope I have earned your support for my re-election to the BICA board. We unfortunately all couldn't be here, but that is his comments, and I believe he would have just said that as simply as I did. Thank you.
Speaker number 5 is Bernie Strauss. Bernie?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending this evening's Meet the Candidates. Before beginning, I would like to express my appreciation to everyone for giving all of our candidates a consideration to conduct business as your representatives of our wonderful community. I would also like to thank my wife, Carol, the homeowners of BallenIsles, our current board, and Bob Davis, our property manager. I have been a resident of BallenIsles for over 15 years. It seems like that's a theme with most of the people here. During part of the time living here, I was working as a senior vice president of investments for Smith Barney. I feel my unique knowledge as an investment advisor, regional branch manager, branch office manager, internal and external wholesaler, president of a sizable water heater manufacturing company, and board member, director, and officer of multiple charitable organizations adds to my ability to seek and discover information pertaining to life issues that others might not be attuned to. Since moving to BallenIsles in 1979, I have served our community often. My service includes acting as the chairperson for the creation of the Alternative Energy Committee, Compliance Committee part-time acting chairperson and member, being a BallenIsles Community Association nominating steering committee member, and Neighborhood Advisory Committee representative for my enclave. I worked on all these committees in addition to being vice president of my homeowners association for almost 10 years. Currently, I am also a member of the Marketing and Membership Committee for the BallenIsles Country Club. Some specific ideas that have been brought to my attention by property owners that I think might need additional consideration and direction include the securing of hurricane insurance, the perimeter security system of our community, improved management of our golf cart and pedestrian traffic paths, the need for an administrative building, the eelgrass situation in the lakes, the cleaning of roofs and required individual flower plantings, improved cooperation and communication with the BallenIsles Country Club, and the changing rules on modifications, to mention just a few. My scholastic experience includes an MBA and a degree in computer engineering. These qualifications, along with my management and financial leadership experiences, will contribute to me being able to fulfill my obligations well as your BICA board member. I am clearly qualified, and my experiences are such that I believe I can help to maintain our high standards and add significant improvement to the management of our community. Someone asked my vision for BICA. I've given this quite a bit of thought. My vision is to maintain our way of life through what I have christened the 5 C's: civility, charity, comedy, and charm. All this while being competitive vis-a-vis golf club communities in our marketplace. Thank you for your time and consideration. My speech is very short. My name is Bernie Strauss. I look forward to serving you on the BallenIsles Community Association. Thank you.
And candidate number 6 is George Weicker.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming here tonight. It's really refreshing to see this much interest in the community. This hasn't happened in a long time, and I think it's a great sign for us. My wife Marion and I have been residents here at BallenIsles for 12 years. We think it's the safest and the most beautiful place in all of South Florida. And I'd like the opportunity to help keep it that way. I'm going to mention a number of matters that I believe need addressing and then speak to each one as we go along. The first area is long-term capital requirements. The next is infrastructure maintenance, long-term facilities plan, local government relations, the role of neighborhoods, and finally communication. In the area of long-term capital, it's kind of interesting that our board has never really had to deal with long-term capital requirements because that was done for us by the developer. Our infrastructure was funded by bonds that were put in place by the North Palm Beach County Improvement District. Those bonds will be paid off as of this coming November the 1st. And we have been paying for those bonds through our ad valorem property taxes. And in case any of you don't remember, I didn't. I had to go look it up from my tax bill. But we pay, last year, we paid just under $1,400 for the retirement of those bonds. Now that they're paid off, that leaves as a possibility going forward, looking for our future capital requirements, perhaps through the North Palm Beach County Improvement District, or it's been 20 to 30 years since those bonds have been put in place. Maybe we should be looking elsewhere to see where we can get the best value for the money. In any event, it's going to require some considerable time and energy to go ahead and find out which is the best way to go, and we don't have a lot of time to do it. The area that really drives our capital requirements is really the infrastructure refurbishment that this community is going to need over the next several years. Our roads are going to need repaving. The drainage and irrigation systems will have to be updated and improved. We talked about the ponds. The walls on the ponds may need to be reinforced or rebuilt. The grass is a problem, and we just don't know what the solution to that is, but we're going to have to stay on top of it. There's also another matter, and that's the buildup of silt in those ponds. That's going to have to be addressed. Another area of infrastructure are our entrances. We've got 3 beautiful entrances. Those have to be maintained, they have to be modernized, they have to be upgraded. Our security force uses those to go ahead and communicate back and forth and to keep us in a safe place. So the board really needs to lead the effort of putting together a plan that lays out what things have to be done to maintain and improve and enhance all of this infrastructure, what kind of a time schedule we're looking at, and then figure out how much money we need and when. And that then lays the foundation for going and finding out where we can best get financing for our long-term requirements. The idea, of course, behind doing all that would be to try to keep the funding within the same levels that we've had over the last several years. I don't think it's in anybody's interest to try to go ahead and spend a lot more money than we're already spending. But, and by the way, I think the BICA board over the last several years has done one heck of a job of not only maintaining this place, but constantly improving it and doing it within an annual budget that really has not grown very much in the 12 years that I've been here. And I'd like to take my hat off to all those people that have served. Another area, and it's already been mentioned, is in dealing with local government. There's an incident that occurred a few weeks ago that gives rise to the concerns. The incident was something to do with the dog park, and some adjacent neighbors complained. They didn't come and complain to us. They went to the city government officials, and some employee in the city government went and looked to see if we had a permit to put a dog park in. He took it upon himself to generate a cease and desist order, got into the community, presented that to us, and for a couple days, we couldn't use the dog park. This gives rise to a couple of considerations. One is we need to have a better working relationship with the staff of Palm Beach Gardens, the city. It's just unthinkable that someone would come in and try to change the way we live, the way we use our property and our facilities with no notice and no fair hearing. The other thing that it points out is that we need advocates. And as has been pointed out earlier, we are, because of the term limit condition that now exists, the two people that we've been relying upon as our friends on the city council will not be able to serve beginning next year. And we have to figure out how to deal with that. So we need to...
Time's up.
Time's up, or...
Time's up.
I've got 1 minute?
No, you had it.
Less than 1 minute. Okay, fine. Well, let me just close by saying I'd really like your consideration and I'd like your vote. I've had 32 years of experience in aerospace in various levels of management, strategic planning, finance. I'm a member of the California Bar, and I have already served 3 years on the BICA board from 2006 to 2009. And thank you. Sorry, Larry.
You know, I sense as a resident here that we're very, very fortunate to have those who do serve not only on the BICA board, but obviously on the country club board as well. Please understand, maybe some of you are relatively new here, none of these people get paid for what they do. It's a serious commitment of time, lots of subjects that come up, lots of incidences that have happened, things that need attention. And the amount of sincerity, the amount that goes into trying to make and maintain BallenIsles as a superior place to live, so much of it is in the hands of and on the shoulders of those who serve on these boards. I would just ask you all to join me in a big round of applause of appreciation for all of them. Now, we said we'd open this up for your questions and give each of the candidates, obviously Hall cannot be here to respond. The other 5 are here. We have microphones in place. So who would like to start? And there is a microphone here if you want to be certain that you're heard, and we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Ira Theodore. First, I'd like to wish you all best of luck. Wonderful presentations. My question is a simple one. For the past few years, BICA has cooperated with the club in a joint marketing campaign to enhance and enchant the value of BallenIsles name, both in Florida and northern cities, to attract residents to our community. I would like to know the position of each of you regarding continued support of that cooperative advertising fund. I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe BICA's contribution over the past couple of years has been $100,000. Please correct me if I'm wrong on the number. Thank you.
Okay. Who wants to start? Bernie, go ahead.
You hear me? I'm totally in favor of us working together with the country club and any type of an initiative that we can in order to enhance the viability of our community. So I'm totally in favor of it.
Yes, hi. I also believe in cooperating with the club, but to give a carte blanche answer about the 100,000, after I've just heard what we have on our plate going forward, it would be irresponsible. We've got pump houses, we've got eelgrass. I mean, we've got everything under the sun to deal with, and they're major, major issues. So I think it's a matter of priorities, and I would certainly support anything that enhances the club, but I think it has to be looked at with the amount of money available and where it would stand in the priority list.
Thanks. I think when you look at an issue like marketing, if you're any size corporation in America, if you're any size LLC or law firm, my experience is in law, you spend money for marketing, and just because you get a client doesn't mean you stop marketing. You continue to market on a regular basis. When you look at the expense of $100,000, it's less than 1.5% of our expenditure budget. So it's a relatively small amount. To answer the question specifically will depend on the presentation we get at the March board meeting from the marketing staff. It may be that, in fact, a larger number is required. What we need to do is spend what's necessary to maintain and enhance the values of our properties. That's the only way we're going to sell houses and get new golf members and continue this community as we want it.
Ira, we'll begin our budget process next month with a new board. And marketing is one of a number of competing issues that will be discussed as far as funding is concerned. And as Bill has just said, we'll have a presentation from Brian Merbler, and we will examine whether we have better uses for that money, or that is the best use that we can put $100,000 to, or some figure less than that.
I'm afraid I don't know enough about the marketing program to really say, yes, I'm a big supporter of it, or no, I'm not. I tend to be a very results-oriented person, and I would like to see what the program has been doing and what kind of results we've been getting. I know that home sales have been up, but when I look at annual home sales in the range of 50 or 60, that's really not very many in a community of this size, considering the fact that most people come into the community when they're in their 50s. And you look at the turnover, we should be turning over maybe a tenth of our homes on an annual basis. So I think we've got to go ahead and help that along. And if marketing has shown some positive results, I think I would be very supportive of it.
Thank you all.
Those of you that have questions, would you give your name first and the neighborhood in which you live, please?
Sure. My name is David Rifkin. I live in Victoria Bay. It seems to me that we've been hearing a lot about the issues that need to be addressed. We're not hearing so much about proposed solutions. We're not hearing about, here's where I stand on these issues. Here's what we need to do. We're hearing about eelgrass. We're hearing about security. But we're not hearing what your ideas are. If we elect you, what will you stand for? What are your ideas? What will you tell us you will do besides listen and discuss it at the board, which we don't hear about anyway? That's number one. I would like to know what your positions are. It seems to me that a very important position for BICA is the position of the enhancement and improvement of our property values. Now that goes beyond contributing to a marketing campaign. It means searching for ways that we can enhance the community to make this community a very attractive and appealing place to live. That's thinking outside the box. I commend some of you who stood up here and came up with out-of-the-box ideas. Some of them may be great, some of them less great, but they're out-of-the-box, proactive ideas, and I would encourage all of you on the BICA board to think of those kinds of things. That's the way that our community will be improved. My question is, Thank you. My question is, what are some of these ideas? We've heard about the eelgrass, we've heard about the security. Can anybody address those issues? What are you doing? What do you plan to do on the board?
I hesitate to talk about eelgrass because I see it out of my window every day. But it's going to be helpful to you, I think, if I talk for a moment about it. Eelgrass is one of the most complicated things that has come before this community and this board in years. The grass has grown prolifically the last 2 summers. There's no clear way to kill it. If you kill it with really, really strong chemicals, then you kill all the fish, which isn't such a good thing either. So BICA has done the following things. They got experts from the University of Florida, from Auburn, from local communities, and from the people who are maintaining the lakes on behalf of northern Palm Beach County. And they got together with all of them. They said, what can we do? If you've seen the video that BICA put out, they had a thrasher which went through and cut it like a mower. And it was right behind my house, so I know about it. And then they dragged all this grass out of the lake. And within 2 weeks, it was all back again. So then BICA looked at the possibility of a chemical solution. And they've been putting chemicals on the grass to kill it, and then other chemicals which cause it to sink to the bottom. That's been relatively effective, but we're talking about one large lake, Lake 14, where we live and where a number of other communities are, and it's only a partial solution. So BICA is looking at the next possible solution. This is not a thing where any individual member of the board, Norman's been very active in this area, has a solution. What they're trying, and they're working forward. So sometimes in terms of a board asking the question, what's the solution, what's your answer, there isn't a clear one yet, but I can tell you they're thinking outside the box on eelgrass every day. So I think we can talk about these other areas as well. I think a lot of the board members have very specific ideas, but they probably didn't want tonight to be a debate among different board members on what's your solution to the dog park, for example. But I'll bet you everybody here has an idea about the dog park. Norm?
A number of years ago, not that long ago, but 4 or 5 possibly, a survey was done as to why people move to BallenIsles. The number 1 reason is landscaping. The number 2 reason was the location of BallenIsles. When you consider the fact that we're close to 95, we're close to the Turnpike, close to the Palm Beach Airport, for those people who are still working, and those are the people that we try to target, those are important things. Well, we can't move the airport, and the location is the location. But what we can do is keep improving, modifying, enhancing the landscaping, which this board and boards previous to this one have done. And secondly, we can improve our amenities. As I said in my speech, the fitness park, or the 17 acres just inside of the North Lake Gate, is an underutilized area. And I think that a better use can be, that property can be put to a better use. I think that there are a number of amenities that would make this a more enticing community for new people and a more enjoyable community for those of us who are already here.
Hello, David?
Hey, Jim.
Hi. Go ahead. I would like to also address your question. First of all, it seems to me that we have all these major issues in front of us, like the gatehouses. Well, it certainly is I believe, the will to freshen them up, if not redo them, make them a little more contemporary, They're yesterday's news. They are. They're yesterday's news. They're old. They're tired. And I know that we pretty much have to consider doing something about them to stay fresh for new prospective people and even for ourselves. That's number one. Number two is you hear that there's a lot of issue about the roads and the streets and the cart paths and the dog park. These are all things that are going to be addressed. I haven't been able to address them yet except thinking about them. But these are all things that are going to probably be improved. As far as the utilization of the dog park, I think having an open tract of land like that in today's world, in this market, is a very, very unique and sacred piece of property that we should preserve and not let anybody mess with it. Okay, to have a piece of property like that that people can walk around with, and they can jog, and they can have a nice stroll with the kids in a carriage, and they can bring their dogs, and they can get out and bond with nature a little bit, is rare. And I guarantee there's a lot of other places that wish they had it. And I think developing it would sort of be a sin. It's my own feeling on that.
I believe the question was, what is our position on some issues? In my mind, the biggest issue we have in front of us is how are we going to handle our capital needs for the long-term future? That's something that I have some feelings about, but I don't think my feelings are any more important than the other 1,576 residents of this community. And I think our job on the board is to go ahead and define the options that are out there for each of these, put a price tag on them, look at a time frame, and see what the community sentiment is. There's a number of things. There's all the different infrastructure things that I mentioned before. There's the guardhouses. There's the perhaps a permanent facility for BICA and its offices and its maintenance staff. All of these things have to be considered and weighed and presented to the community. This is something that's got to be done by consensus of the community. What my needs are and what my desires are this year for myself are probably different than most of the other members of the community. What we have to do is build something that's right for the majority of people here and something that everyone will support without being rancorous. So, and that's a fine line, and I think communication is something that is very, very important in evolving those kinds of solutions. So I'm sorry if I didn't give you a straightforward answer, but I really feel that it's the board's position to go ahead and find that consensus in the community and to bring out the issues in a way that the community can go ahead and pass judgment and give feedback and ultimately approve the plan going forward, because every one of us is going to have to pay for it. So,
Thank you.
I've got also one answer to that. Being or in the past, a financial advisor, when someone would come to me and ask me what they should do, how they should handle their investments, that's an answer that I can't really give them offhand until I know them better. And I do know some of the issues that we have within BallenIsles. I don't know all of them. But in order to delve deeper into what your question is, I need to know what's already been done, because I don't really care to spin my wheels or somebody else's if something has already been done and we've come with an answer that we're still working on. So I got to get there first.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
My name is Howard Abrams. I live in St. James.
Lift that mic up a little bit.
Okay, should I try again? My name is Howard Abrams, and I live in St. James. Before I basically give you my comments, I'd like to say that I'd like to try to change the terms of the board from a 3-year term of renewable, 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 to a 1 5-year term to do your projects and let other people of our 1,600 capable people get on the board and to do things to progress our community. I'm here basically to discuss the dog park, not eel pools. First of all, I want to state that I am here telling you that all of us who go to the dog park regularly do not want it moved. And that is in fact. There have been attempts in the past to move it. Mr. Greenberg knows that I had spoken to him about that he came to us 3 years ago wanting to move it, build the homes in the area, which a year went by and of course they found out later they couldn't do it. That's the question. Why not? We don't know why not. Because we all enjoy where it is. It is in a perfect place. It's in a perfect place for us, and everybody enjoys walking there and walking back. And we have our own area. We're away from everybody. We're not in the middle of all the people that are walking around. In regard to the permit, we came to the board of directors about a little less than a year ago about 2 attacks. 2 dogs attacked our dogs. They came through the gate and attacked them. We gave you that notification. Nothing was done. Nobody checked to see if there was a permit. Nobody checked to see about the community. All of a sudden, that one woman over at the other community went to Palm Beach Gardens, and now the dog park is on everybody's mind. You were aware of all of these problems. Nobody did anything, and that is disgraceful. That we have 2 dogs that had to go to the hospitals because they were attacked. Excuse me. I understand. Can I talk?
Come on, Howard, you got the floor.
Well, I'm trying, but they're stopping me.
You got the floor.
I do have the floor. My point is, all of these problems are because of lack of investigation and forethought. Whether it's the PGA entrances, which we had almost done, and we reneged on that deal, so now we are dealing with all of these problems. Everything can be accomplished. Everything can be done if we investigate before we move. I have no question. I had a statement. Thank you.
I'm Richard Budson from Coral Cay, and I want to ask a question to all of you, in particular people on the board, but here's my point. In listening to the good work that all of you have been doing, what I'm hearing is there's an interface of our community with the Palm Beach Gardens government, if you will, and its community. And some of the interfaces coming up include the east parcel, the concern about the one driveway right off of our driveway that goes into the east parcel, the perimeter and the security, the issue that just came up unexpectedly having to do with the dog park, et cetera. And I also, I think it was Mr. Strauss who said that he is on, there's a board of the different gated communities in the area. Right, the condos. Are we adequately interfacing with the government of Palm Beach Gardens is my question, to the extent that, one, we should not be reacting defensively when we suddenly find ourselves attacked. Is there something going on where we're working with them, and both to not be on the defensive if possible, and also to understand what they're doing so that there could be enhancements that they already have that we don't have to pay for? In other words, what is the differential role between our security, as one example, and their police department when you talk about external security and places of cooperation, which I think somebody mentioned? So that's my question. And has it been thoroughly thought about? Should somebody come up with a proposal of all the ways that we could enhance the betterment of our community by liaisoning with them? That's my question.
Okay. Who wants to start?
Well, I certainly agree that we need to be working with other gated communities in matters of mutual interest. And that might include comparing notes on security. From what I understand, our community, in terms of statistics, is one of the safest, if not the safest, in all of South Florida. And that's a great credit to Bob Davis and John Sawyer and our whole security team. I think when it comes to working with local governments, that's where we stand to gain the most by getting together with other communities like ourselves. We probably pay the lion's share of property taxes in Palm Beach Gardens, and we should have a proportionate amount of representation. We may need to, that's certainly one avenue we need to pursue. Another, maybe to go get our own professional representation. Maybe we need to have our own lobbyist. Maybe we have to go ahead and promote one or more of our residents to actually run for positions on the city council. We also might want to consider putting together a PAC, a political action committee, to go ahead and fund campaigns. I know that other people in the community do that, and they certainly, in my experience in aerospace, of course, that's part of the price of doing business. If you want to get in to see a congressman, you have to be on his list of contributors. I would imagine that city government is not a lot, so I hope that answers your question.
Good start.
I think that it's very significant that a employee of the city came and basically arbitrarily shut down the dog park. He was responding to a resident's complaint and took away an amenity that many of us enjoy and use. I think that the lesson to be learned there is that when this community casts close to 1,200 votes in a non-presidential year, you get attention because you have 1,200 votes. And so within 48 hours, that park was opened again. And while I am all in favor of working with staff and the council has changed, or will change, and will continue to change. And I think that we have to make an effort. I think your point's well taken. And I think that we have to continue to impress upon this community that they have to vote. Very important.
Excuse me. I would like to mention that as far as the subject of contributions are concerned, to the city, that I know that our BICA Charitable Foundation, I think, over the last couple of years has made a number of charitable contributions, I think, to different venues that the city of Palm Beach or West Palm Beach or Palm Beach Gardens, has been involved in. Can you guys maybe share a little bit of that with us, of what we gave and how much and why, and if you think we're getting our due because of it?
I might be able to give you some help on that. The foundation over the last several years has funded programs, first in the city, to run a program of entertainment free for residents. That's been done several years in a row. It was musical the first couple of years, and then it was plays, which are open to the citizens of the town and actually surrounding towns. 1,000 people come for those performances. So that we do to the city. We also have supported in the last several years grants to the fire department, including this year for a fire simulator that they use for training, and prior years for other equipment, including a pediatric simulator, which helps the firemen learn how to take care of a child if the child's having problems. So we do that every year. And for those of you who may never need it, I hope you don't, but the fire department and emergency services are here almost every day. And so supporting that organization with grants each year as we have has been very good. We've also provided grants to the police department for equipment they wanted. So in the last 3 or 4 years, don't forget, the foundation's only existed for 4 years. It's raised and spent over $850,000, but a lot of that, about a third, has gone to programs for the municipality that we're in and other nearby municipalities. That's a great way to build support with the community that knows that BallenIsles cares about the less well-off people in the community.
Well, I certainly agree with the generosity that we extend to all these different venues that the city has, and I think it's a wonderful thing. But my question is, are we getting a bang for our buck by these donations? I mean, I hear right now that we have 1 or 2 friends on the city council or whatever that are exiting, and we're having some problems in credibility, having some influence with who's remaining.
You know, as the questioner, I appreciate your responses, and what I would just urge is that those of you who are on the board, who are elected to the board, that this become an agenda it should be on your agenda to analyze and assess all of these pieces, because it sounds fragmented. And I think it needs to be coordinated, and as you say, even about our community, not only how are things now, but your prediction of who's going off the board in town, and what do we do to enhance the interrelationships so that we're protected. Thank you.
My name is David Shire. I live in St. James. I have a concern that affects us all every day. It's a safety concern. It involves the path that we use to get to the club amenities. I think the path is narrow. I think it's dangerous. Some consider it a cart path, although I've seen rollerbladers, walkers, joggers, bicycle riders on it. Residents who live here know that it's a safety concern. BICA tried to address it as a big safety concern a few years ago by putting up some small signs that say slow down. I slow down. I normally get a dirty look from the person I'm slowing down as I go by. I think it needs to be addressed. It can be addressed many different ways. It can be addressed by widening the path that's there. It could be addressed by putting a line down the middle that designates one side from the other. It could be addressed by creating a separate path for motorized vehicles being cart paths. It could be addressed by putting the cart path alongside the road. All of you have mentioned that the roads are soon to be going to need to be redone. I ask each of you, given a utopian world in which cost is no object, how would you solve this problem?
That's one for you, Bernie.
I think it's a very dangerous place to be on the cart path, pedestrian path. I've almost run over some people who were, I would say, listening to their music and not paying attention to what they were doing, including turning around right in front of a cart that was actually stopped. It is dangerous. I think that the paths do need to be widened. They do need to be segregated as far as which direction people are heading in. And people should also know that they shouldn't take their bicycles on the path, because the bicycles do belong in the street, unfortunately. Cost is a big figure, and I don't think that we can just blindly do it. We need to find out how much it's going to cost. It might even incur a special assessment. I don't know. It's really a decision for the board to make on a financial viability. But I'm in favor of widening the cart path and making it as safe as we can.
Anybody else?
This is a problem that has not come out of the blue. A considerable amount of time and effort has been spent on this subject. There have been many committees, many study groups, much discussion about the problem. And I must tell you that I have participated in many of them, and I do not have a solution to the problem. And it's interesting to note that we had an engineering company come out and discuss widening the path. And the comment that the engineering company made was that if you widen the path, you will increase the speed of the golf carts. There is no good solution. The only good solution is that there be increased publicity and civility, that we have to share those paths. We talked about putting a path on the other side of BallenIsles Drive. That was not, there were objections to that. We talked about widening the roads. And if you do widen the roads, you have to put some type of a barricade between the cars and the carts. No one thinks that's a great idea. There is no good solution other than the fact that people have to recognize that carts and people have to exist in the same space.
David, I think it's a timely question, and the reason I say it's timely, first of all, to answer your question directly, given a perfect world where there's no constraints, of course you'd want to have separate paths for everybody. I think the physics of the whole thing says there's just not enough room to do that. Forget the cost. But when we take a look at repaving the roads, it's a very logical time to go take a look at what it would take to widen the roads and make enough room for maybe a golf cart bicycle lane on each side of the road and keep that traffic off of the sidewalks. You know, and it all depends on what the community's appetite for expenses. But we might be able to do it at the time we do the repaving, where we won't break the bank and it won't be a horrendous cost to the community that they would have to bear all at one time. It's something that I would propose that we look at and give serious consideration to. It's a better solution than having, even widening the current sidewalks, because golf carts will go faster. I know I just got a new golf cart, and frankly, it goes a lot faster than the old one used to. And it's good because I get to where I'm going faster, but boy, if there's anybody in the way, it's not so good because, for obvious reasons. But, you know, the community, I think, needs to be presented with these issues when we can develop the facts, see what the cost of something like that is, see what it looks like, see how it would impact how we live our day-to-day lives here. And, you know, people are going to have to make trade-offs. And, you know, right now we're living with a situation where we're depending on people to go ahead and slow down when there's pedestrians nearby. So far it's working pretty well, but there's always the danger and that something catastrophic could happen. All it takes is one bump from a cart on a pedestrian, and that person's out of commission for a long time. So anyway.
Well, as a follow-up, you know, I take my cart from my house to BallenIsles Drive and I'm on the street. I actually feel safer there because I know there are no pedestrians in my way. I've gone to other communities in which there is a cart path alongside the main road. Because I play tennis outside the gate at other communities and I know that they have that, so I know it does exist. I don't know the right solution either, but I know that status quo is unacceptable. And I think at the minimum, there should be a line down the middle of the road designating one side from down the middle of the cart path designating one side from the other. If you look at the grass alongside the path, you'll notice it's pretty worn because people obviously use the grass as their safety zone. But having gone around the blind curve near Windward last year and almost getting in a head-on, I'm really scared. So I would suggest that whoever of the three of you are elected give this immediate and considerable attention. Thanks.
Hi, Michael Antino, Coconut Cape. I'd like to know how you guys would deal with the North County Improvement District. You all talked about the guardhouses. We don't have to worry about the guardhouses because in 2016 and 2017, they're going to replace them for us. I don't know why we're worrying about the eelgrass. We don't own the lakes. They do. And BallenIsles Drive, we don't have any problems there. They own them. So my question is, would you guys go directly to them and have them fix the problems that we currently have? We have an eelgrass problem. We have a BallenIsles Drive problem. Let them fix it. They own it. Or do we own it? Does anyone really know who owns the property? Who owns the lakes? And if that's the case, when I bought into the development in 1998, how come they said, you're buying into a development, but oh, by the way, the main road we don't own. So all I'd like to know is how aggressive will you guys be or with the district? Thank you.
I'd like to speak to that. It's very clearly defined what we own as a community and what the improvement district owns.
He's coming back.
I have to look. I've been looking to find out who owns. If you do, can you kindly send me the documents that shows MacArthur or Dexter selling the property to whoever this quasi-municipal, whatever it is. They can't do anything because they're not a government. So they can't even charge us taxes. They can't do anything. They have to go to the Palm Beach Gardens to do it. They're just an entity that was set up, I guess originally in 1958 or 59 because of flooding. So if you really know who owns BallenIsles Drive and all the ponds and the 3 guardhouses, as far as I know, and according to them, they own them.
They do, in fact, own them.
There's no question that they own them. You look into, and that's a good point. If you look at your declarations documents that you got when you bought here, those documents tell you that the Northern Palm Beach County District owns these facilities. Now, why do they own them? It's because at the time the project was developed, the developer and the district together came up with the way that it would be financed through these bonds. And the district owns these things, but we are obligated to maintain them. That's why we have to worry about the lakes, because we have the duty, the legal duty to maintain them. We have the legal duty to maintain the roads. We have, in the answer to your exact question, I think the board has to get to the point where we regard Northern Palm Beach as our partner in the continued development and enhancement of our community. They are not our enemy, and if we make them our enemy, then we lose a major source of funding and facility enhancement.
I'm a little confused. You said they issued bonds. If you issue
ownership of that piece of property, that company, that anything.
You're describing a typical mortgage, which is not what this is.
A bond, if you wish, the United States issues a bond. When it's paid off, no one owns the United States. You guys are confusing me here. Is it a bond or not a bond?
The roads were, and a number of other amenities, including the guardhouses, were built with funding from a bond. We've been paying the bond off. The improvement district does not have any funding other than what they collect from us. So I'm not sure I really understand your question.
The question is, if they own the guardhouses, and they own the lakes, and they own BallenIsles Drive, why don't they fix them?
Because they have no funding other than what we give them through taxes. They have no money other than what we pay in taxes.
But they own that. That's an asset. They own something. I don't get it. I absolutely don't understand. Okay. See, I'm not the brightest bulb in town, so I really don't understand how they can own something.
Thank you. I think we've got the gist of it. You raise a good point. I myself, and I don't know about these other gentlemen, but I have not seen those documents. I've actually asked for them, and if I'm elected, I plan to spend a lot of time, maybe with some experts in Florida law, and try to understand exactly what the nature of their ownership is. Because you're right, in a typical mortgage or a typical bond kind of a situation, once the bond is paid off, title reverts. I don't know if that's the case with these documents. So we'll have to go take a look at that. Thank you for raising the point.
But can you answer, are you going to be aggressive with them, or are we going to be active?
Well, it depends on what the documents say.
I'm Tricia Trimble, and I live in Arbor Chase. And Mr. Wicker, I'm very happy to hear what you say about getting the documents and reading those, because in the past, BICA felt that they could build on the dog park and make another development community there and move the dog park, and spread, the news was spread around. So there was no need to buy that extra property out by the military gate, because they could build on that 17 acres of the dog park. Well, then they found out that they weren't allowed to ever build on the dog park, from what we heard. And that property over by military gate was sold to somebody else, and we have a very close community that has no benefit to us, and we share a drive with them. So I think it's critically important, and so I may not have all the facts, but this is what I've heard. So with our regular board of BallenIsles, they have been very good in the last couple of years of communicating very well with us. And I think all of you up here, I congratulate you for running, and you've all said that you want to cooperate more with the board and be more communicative with all of us. But I think it's critical that the decision makers really read these documents and know the facts before they start making opinions or decisions. Thank you. Oh, and am I correct on what I think is true about the building on the dog park?
It's a very interesting and complicated matter. What it goes back to is a lawsuit in 1996 by 17 or 18 residents of the Cypress Hollows Community Association and that association, which sued the then developer of BallenIsles and the city to affect our development of BallenIsles. That case was settled, and Bob Davis, I asked him to get me the documents about that settlement, and he did, and I reviewed them last week. What those documents say is we, BallenIsles, our predecessor, the developer, gave a 6-foot wide easement so that the people at Cypress Hollows have a little bit of breakage between the backyards of their houses and our property, which is that 17-acre recreation area. Where this discussion of no houses came from is there is a paragraph in the settlement agreement, and it says that the property of the developer, BallenIsles, immediately adjacent to and behind those houses will not be developed for houses. Doesn't say that we can't develop it for something else, but it says we can't develop it for houses. That settlement was then submitted to the court, and it was approved, and the court kept jurisdiction for any changes or enforcement later. Most of the people who were in Cypress Hollows who signed that and owned houses are probably gone now. It's 20 years ago. I couldn't find any of their names among the Cypress Hollows Association membership. So we still have the Cypress Hollows that can enforce the agreement. If you really want to read the documents and you don't want to wait for Bob Davis to send them to you, go on the Cypress Hollows Homeowners Association website, because there, on their website, they have a whole bunch of agreements that they've signed, including the one they signed with our predecessor developer, and including the one that gives them the easement. So they have it right on their website, which leads me to believe they haven't forgotten that we can't build houses there. Doesn't mean we can't build something else, but we can't build houses.
About 3/4 of our audience has gone home. I thank all of you for being here tonight, for taking part, for being concerned about the future of BallenIsles. We wish all of you gentlemen the best, and obviously, as the old expression goes, may the best men win. I think it's wonderful that all of you are vying for this, that you want to be a part of it, to help BallenIsles to maintain the reasons that we all came here in the first place. Thanks to you, and thank all of you for being here tonight. Thank you.